This is Matt Russell, and welcome to the Daily FX Forum.
So here are the four pairs that I will be discussing this evening: the Euro Pound, the Aussie Kiwi, the Pound Swiss, and the Euro Swiss, as well as the Euro Aussie. So let's go ahead and pull up the charts. The first chart is the Euro Pound. If you recall, during yesterday's report, I was mentioning, or the two previous reports, entries at 89.35 initially with the stop at the 9-figure, but I did mention during yesterday's report to move that stop up to 89.15. If you were in that trade, you were stopped out with a 20 pip loss, or actually when I was speaking yesterday I mentioned an entry at 89.45, so you were stopped out with a 30 pip loss, and that's perfectly fine. It's part of trading. And what I'm looking at right now, but I would give this another 24 hours or so, is the possibility of an inverted head and shoulder pattern forming. I'd like to see that right shoulder hold, at least some confirmation in the market. So again, I'm going to wait for tomorrow's report for a potential trade setup on this pair based on this inverted head and shoulder pattern. The next chart is the Aussie Kiwi. And what I also wanted to mention, if you remember during last week, the short trade at 28.05, and there were about 250 pips in profit on that trade. And that trade, that's you don't really learn anything from those wins. But going back to the Euro Pound, if you entered this trade with a 20 pip loss or a 30 pip loss, that's the most important thing you can learn in trading. Learn how to do that. Learn how to take your trades and take your risk, and then exit if the market moves against you, and don't look back. So back to the Aussie right now. What I'm looking at longer term here is possibility of support near the 24.30 area. There are some common price points there, but again, I'd like to see at least a little bit of confirmation when prices get down to that level, and prices right now about 70 pips or so away, so it's something certainly we can monitor over the next 24 to 48 hours. The next chart is the Pound Swiss, and this is again just this acting as the inverse of the Euro Pound. So this would be a head and shoulder pattern, not an inverted head and shoulder pattern. And we can see that the right shoulder here was violated. The Pound Swiss is a little more volatile than the Euro Pound, so I would prefer to trade that on the inverted head and shoulder patterns. So I would just stay on the sidelines with the Pound Swiss right now. The next chart is the Euro Swiss, and the short trade from 51.25 continues. Prices got down during yesterday's session to a low of 50.82. So again, I just look to take profits, put your limit order in at 50.75. The next chart is the Euro Aussie, and not much has changed here. I did want to zoom out as I was speaking about the double bottom trade that I missed by about 20 pips, and prices did rally significantly off that level. So what I'm looking at right now, and I do like that double bottom potentially for a longer term reversal. So what I'm looking at right now, I've actually added the fib levels here, and the 61.8 is at about 60.63. So personally I might look to enter at about 60.70 with a stop at about 60, let's call it 60.20. So 50 pip stop entry long 60.70 with a stop at 60.20. Again, that's based on the 61.8 of the recent rally, and this could be a 1-2, so I'm waiting for the bottom of the 2 wave at that 61.8. Again, my name is Matt Russell. Thanks for listening, and please stay tuned for a preview of the Daily FX Forums. I want to take this opportunity to formally welcome you all to the Daily FX Forums. I want to go through the process of how I personally access the forums, and how maybe you at home, if you want to access the forums in the future, might do so. The first thing you would do is go to www.dailyfx.com, and that will bring up, obviously, dailyfx.com, and usually there on the upper right hand corner I'll go ahead and click on where it says forum, and that will bring up the first page of the forums. And this view, I personally don't use this view, but this view actually shows you the most recent posts on all the threads within the different sections, and a little detail about those posts, so you can read through and see if there's something catches your interest. But personally, I go ahead and just click on forums and view them in the more traditional sense. Now, these are different threads within the forum. There's a section on education, such as Daily FX course instructor tips, which would be good for newer traders, and then for more advanced traders. And I just want to go ahead, personally, the way I use the forums is I would go through the individual threads, just looking for trade ideas, maybe looking at charts, looking at certain lines that maybe I didn't put up on my chart, but another trader might have put up on their chart. I tend to, shy away from using direct trade recommendations from other forum members, but it helps me to sort of even out my analysis, make sure that I'm seeing things with the right mind, in terms of I might be missing stuff that other traders can see, and that's my personal way of using the forum. Every trader is going to be a little bit different in how they use it. So if you want to ask questions, if you want to become an active participant of the members, you would have to go ahead and register. So that's what I'm going to go through now. now is the registration process. So assuming you're brand new to the forums, or maybe you've been here a few times and you're not really sure how it works, so I just want to walk through again the registration process. This would be the front page where you would access, or the previous page. You'd have the same little box here on the left hand side. My username and password are already filled out here, but assuming you're a new member, you would click on where it says register, and that will bring up the registration page. If you give me one moment here while my browser loads. And actually first we're going to have some terms of service and DailyFX forum rules. I do suggest reading through the forum rules. Obviously, you know, profanity and spam and things like that are not allowed, but it also gives you insight on, you know, how to use the forum and how different traders can use it, you know, in terms of their individual needs. So you would go down to the bottom there, you'd click on where it says I have read all the rules, and then you would go ahead to the register, the formal registration page, and that will bring up here. And you can go ahead and select the username, and how about we'll use 4x, and that name is already in use, so maybe add a few more x's there. Again, it really, you know, your individual username is up to you, and you go ahead and fill in your password, your email address. Now, the most difficult aspect of registration for the DailyFX forums will be figuring out these letters in the box here. Now, I'm a semi-intelligent person, but I have a very difficult time figuring out which letters and numbers to use. Now, there is a reason for this madness. It helps with security, but I would suggest just going ahead and keep on clicking that refresh image until something comes through that you can actually identify and see. Then you can go ahead and enter your birthday, but you can decide whether or not to display that to other forum members. And then also, if you were referred by somebody, you can enter that information there. The time zone, that should default to your computer, but you should, you know, double check and make sure. And then you can opt in, and I would, you know, suggest opting in for these emails in terms if the administrators want to go ahead and send you some notices about the forum, and then you would complete registration. Now what happens is they would send you an email to the email address that you put up here, and that email will include a link, and all you would have to do is go ahead and click on that link, and that link will bring you inside the forum, and you would now be a member of the DailyFX forums. Again, this is Matt Russell. Thanks for listening.